Officially to kick off the conference, welcome everyone. Delighted that you're all here. We have a full house. This is amazing. It's my joy and my delight this morning to introduce our first speaker. And you've been in communication with our speaker. I've known Patrick Trail, our new director of Echo Asia, since he was an intern back at Echo almost a decade ago in Florida. And Patrick came to work for Echo Asia in 2016 as our research and technical resource person. And since then, he's been building this team, building the network, serving the network all throughout Asia. And Patrick comes to us with a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in agronomy from Virginia Tech. He's well-versed in his field. He's also a certified crop advisor. And he grew up in Africa, and now he's been in Asia for almost as long as he's been in Africa, and that's great. So Patrick's going to share this morning about challenges facing smallholder farmers in Asia and some of the things that he has picked up along the way. So please welcome with me Patrick Trail, our director for Echo Asia.
Right. Thank you, Abram. It's a gracious introduction, and thank you for welcoming everyone. So I'd like to reiterate that we welcome you here, and we're happy to see you. So let's just jump right in, and I'm going to open this conference. Hopefully I'll do this quickly, and so you can hear from someone else. You can hear from other speakers. But I wanted to open this session more or less to outline the theme of our conference, and how did we get to this theme of from surviving to thriving. And so for those of you who have been to an Echo conference, you know that we always have a theme, and sometimes they're very loosely held themes. This year we're sticking a little closer to the theme, and I just kind of want to lay that out and why we're going with this theme. So it's essentially part of it has been a journey I've been on, learning about the challenges of the people that we serve, and that's small-scale farmers, smallholder farmers in Asia. And so I want to take what I've been processing internally for a few years and kind of share it with you, and then I think that will lead us into the broader week, the rest of the topics. All right, so I've been wrestling with this question for a while. If we seek to serve smallholder farmers and their communities, it's essential that we ask them first. And so that's something I've been wrestling with for a few years now. If I'm going to serve you, if I'm going to serve someone, I think I need to take some time to understand you first. And I think I'll talk about how I maybe missed that on the first round and have been repenting and trying to change that. But yeah, it's something I wrestle with for a few years coming out of school and getting into this work, traveling around. It's a question that's been on the forefront of my mind for a while. So this is me. I think about 10 years ago, coming out of graduate school, I did my research was in West Africa. I'd researched millet cropping systems, cover cropping systems, and so I finished my graduate degree, and then I went to Echo, Florida, and I did a one-year program there on tropical agriculture, tropical ag and development, and then I came out to Thailand. Abram actually hired me out in Thailand, and when I came out, I was the expert. I knew everything. I had the master's. I had internship. I had some experience. I was the expert. And so, has anyone ever seen the Dunning-Kruger curve? Anyone? Is anyone familiar with this? All right. I love this. I love the Dunning-Kruger curve because it's very humbling, and it humbled me because I got to this point. But here it is. If you haven't seen it. So this is the Dunning-Kruger curve, and on the y-axis we have confidence, and on the x-axis we have knowledge in your field. So I'll use myself as an example, and this is pretty much tracked pretty accurately for me. So I came out of grad school. You go into university, maybe you go into a field or a career, and you know nothing. You're very, very green. You know nothing. So that's where everyone starts. And then you go and you finish your degree. And you finish your degree, and this is where the curve goes. Straight to the top. And so this was me. I was an expert. I had the degree. What else is there to learn? I will go serve the world and enlighten them. That's my job now. And I quickly realized that that's not true. But so some people refer to this peak of the curve as Mount Stupid. So I think that's kind of where I was. And so then the rest of the curve is reality. You get into your degree, you get into your field, you get into your ministry, you get into your work, and you quickly realize, hey, wait a minute, this is complicated. I don't know anything. I thought I knew a lot, but I know nothing. And so you quickly come down this curve, and for some people, it's a steep crash. If you're lucky, it's maybe a little more gradual. I think for me, it was somewhere in between. I didn't totally crash out. I stayed, right? And then you go into your career, and towards the end of your career, you realize this makes sense, and then maybe at the end of your career, you have a lot to offer. You really do. You have a lot of experience and understanding, and but you'll notice that on the curve, at the end of the career, you never get back to the peak of Mount Stupid. It never goes that high. So anyway, this is kind of where I was, and I just wanted to share this. So I came out to Asia, and I began working with agricultural development. I began working with farmers, and then and when I was in school and I was doing my degree, I was learning very deep technical material information about soil science and microbiology and all these things, and I would hear all these things from my professors. I would hear statements from my professors about agriculture and how it is, about farmers and how they are, and farming and what people need. And I bought into these things, of course, because I'm listening to my professors, and they know more than I do. So of course, I'm yes, that must be right, that must be true. And even from our team in Florida, our Echo leadership, sometimes I would hear statements, and I thought, okay, that's how it is. And then I came out and I began working one-on-one with farmers in different countries around Asia. And then I realized that there was some disconnect. I realized that I wasn't quite lining up, and I needed to learn more. But I would hear statements all the time, just kind of broad statements about agricultural development. Like smallholder farmers are all subsistence farmers. They all survive from their farm, and they eat what they grow. Okay, maybe that's true, maybe not. Smallholder farmers are lazy. They're downtrodden and low and poor because they just haven't picked themselves up by their bootstraps and worked hard. And I would hear things like this. And smallholder farmers may not have money, but they have time. This is one I hear a lot. This is a personal favorite of mine. I dislike this one. Farmers they don't have money, but they have time. And so we introduce agricultural practices and techniques that require a lot of time and a lot of labor. Why do we do these things? Farmers, they don't have any more time than you or me. Young people don't want anything to do with agriculture. The youth of today don't want to be farmers. I would hear these statements. If we could just boost yields, I heard a lot of this in agronomy, in my agronomy degree. If we could just increase yields, the world will have enough food, and we will all be food secure, and things like this. And some of these statements are true. Some of them are true at different times in different places, but I realize that a lot of them are not true. Farming is just a means to an end. Farmers just do it because they don't know anything else. And again, some of these are true, some of them are not. But I needed to figure out, what do I believe? What do I think is the answer? And how can I meaningfully help? If I'm going to work here at Echo Asia and I'm going to serve our network of people that are working with farmers, how can I serve them? And I think the best way is to know what the challenges are. And if I don't know what the challenges are, where are we going? Where's the roadmap? And so I realized that some of the people I trusted didn't have all the answers themselves, because maybe they hadn't taken the time to ask these questions. So this began a little journey of my own, and I just want to share this journey with you. I never thought I'd share this, but this was a little project that I started, just kind of personally. And I've been doing it now for 7 years, and I came up with 5 questions that I'm going to ask every farmer I meet. And so for the last 7 years, I've been asking every farmer the same 5 questions. And the idea was that maybe I will get some consensus. the idea is that maybe I will see what the challenges are, and maybe there'll be completely different answers in every country that I go to. Maybe there'll be some overlap, and we can begin to dial in on what Echo can do to serve. And so these are the questions that I started asking. They're just my 5 questions. They're not the 5 questions. You're welcome to use them, but I'm sure there are many other good questions to ask. But I just picked 5. So number 1 was just what is your greatest challenge as a farmer? Just an open-ended question. What is your greatest challenge? And I never ask the question like I don't lead people on. I don't say, so climate change is your greatest challenge, yes? And then they say yes, yes, yes. No, no, no. I just, what is your greatest challenge? It's very open-ended. And then I ask, what takes up the most time on your farm? I want to know what people are doing with their time. What is time consuming and burdensome or joyful maybe? Do you hope that your son or daughter will one day become a farmer? This is a question I love to ask, and I'll get into some of these answers here shortly. What keeps you awake at night when you think about the future of your farm? What worries you? What stresses you? And I may word the question slightly different every time, but it's the same general question. And then lastly, because we work at Echo and we do a lot with seeds and seed technologies, I ask, where do your seeds come from? This is an important one for us at Echo specifically. The 4 questions above are maybe a little more general. Today, I don't have time to dive into all of these, but I'm going to focus mainly on question number 1 today and look at what are some of the emerging challenges of the farmers that we work with in this region. And I'll share with you some of my respondents that I've heard. So I'm a nerd, so I have a spreadsheet. I keep this on a spreadsheet, and I keep careful record. And like I said, I never anticipated sharing this with anyone, but it's become kind of a neat little project, and I think worth sharing maybe. So I'm glad I did. I'm glad I've been doing this for a few years now. But I've now asked, I think over 250 farm sites. I've asked this question and recorded them. And so through Echo, I never imagined when I started this that I would get to go to this many places. I have had a very fortunate blessing through this work to do a lot of travel and to work with a lot of different projects, a lot of different cultures, a lot of different ethnic groups, a lot of different places. And as you can see, it's pretty diverse subset of Asia now. Certainly haven't been everywhere. Certainly haven't asked every farmer, but it's a pretty good sample size now. So, and I've got a good sample size to draw from and gain some consensus. So I'll just walk through some of the responses, and I'd like to hear from you later in the coffee break. If you in the meets, we'll have a meet the speaker session for each speaker also, and so maybe during that time, you can come challenge me and say that's not right, or you can come and say, yeah, that's I've been hearing that too, and we can swap stories. But before I dive in, just a few disclaimers before anyone gets on me. This is just a small subset. Asia is huge. There's a lot of small-scale farmers in Asia, so this is not representative of everyone, of course, but it's just a subset. Asia is diverse, so what is true in one country may not be true in another country. Cambodia is very different from India to the Philippines to Mongolia. Very, very diverse continent that we work in. And lastly, I do believe in an asset-based development. So what I mean by that is I'm going to talk a lot today about the challenges that exist and the gaps that exist. But I also am a firm believer that farmers have a lot of resources and have a lot of abundance already. And we focus on that in our work. We don't typically go into a community and say, what's missing? What's the gap? We typically say, what do you have? What can we use? What can we leverage for development, for improvement? So this was, again, a personal kind of journey. So I wanted to know what are the challenges. All right, so if you had asked me this question when I was on the peak of Mount Stupid on the Dunning-Kruger curve, had you asked me this question 10 years ago coming out of my degree, I think I would have said, I probably would have said that the greatest challenge of the farmer is something related to soil fertility or poor soils, soil degradation. That probably would have been my number one response. And I encourage you, before I share any responses, to think for yourself, what is the greatest challenge of a farmer that I would say from my perspective? So go ahead and think about that. But I would have said maybe soil fertility. I would have said maybe pest management, invasive pests, how to deal with pests. I might have said weed control, the time it takes to deal with weeds and land preparation. And lastly, I might have said something related to mechanization. I might have said smallholder farmers, could maybe use an increase or a boost in the tools they use. So those probably are the answers that I would have given you. And they're not wrong. These are not wrong answers, and I think many of you know that these are very serious issues, and these are issues that we will seek to address through our work and our talks this week. But I realize that there's a lot more to it, and so in reality, including the responses that I just gave, there are many, and so I'm going to just share a few responses that I've received personally doing these surveys, and I hear a lot of different things. So. Labor costs. I think smallholder farmer challenge is the cost of labor is increasing, and getting help on your farm is hard. Fluctuating market prices. That's a huge one that comes up. Lack of markets in general. Where do I sell my crops? Shifting climatic patterns. We hear this a lot. The rains come late. The rains come early. It's the hottest season on record. Things like this. Land tenure. I don't own my land. I rent my land. I don't have land rights. This comes up frequently, especially in Southeast Asia. Competition from large multinational companies, these agrochemical companies. It's hard to compete. Lack of improved genetics or breeding stock for seeds or livestock. There's a lack of quality dairy cows or breeds, things like that, chickens. Soil degradation, of course, erosion, lack of fertility, nutrients, cost of fertilizers. Fall armyworm. This one's been coming up a lot in the last year or a couple of years as I asked, because fall armyworm has spread across this region very rapidly, similar to African swine fever for pigs. This comes up as well. Record keeping. A lot of small-scale farmers have trouble with record keeping. They may be lower education or illiterate. This is a challenge sometimes. Lack of water, irrigation systems, salination of water. This comes up. Pest management, of course, comes up. That goes to fall armyworm, but pest management of all sorts. Should I treat organically or not? How do I do it organically or naturally if I want to? How can I afford it if I don't? These things. The middleman. The middleman comes up. I grow my crop. Where do I sell it? I sell it to the middleman, and we'll talk about some of that. Lack of government support. So depending on which country you're in, you may or may not have good government support or policies for small-scale farmers. Thailand is very fortunate to have a strong government system and extension system for its farmers, but that's not true of every country. Elephants. Sam, are you in the room? This came from your farm. So Sam and others have unexpected answers come up, and Sam works really hard to grow his crops, and the elephants come in and destroy them all. I said, "What do you do?" And he asked me that question. I said, "I didn't hear about that in grad school, so I have to look that one up." So I actually remind me in the Meet the Speaker, I did look it up, and I found some really interesting answers. But anyway, so a lot of things come up. These are many challenges that come up with farmers. And this is not an exhaustive list, but this is some of the ones that come up. So what is your greatest challenge? So I want to now share just what are the common responses. So I've kind of aggregated the responses, and to my delight and surprise, the most common response to this question that I've asked has been serious consensus. About 80 to 90% of the people that I asked this question to say the same thing. And would anyone like to just take a quick guess what it might be? One word. Anybody? Markets. Nailed it. Markets and marketing. This comes up more than any question, more than any answer that I hear of every farmer I ask. Good job, you got it. That means that I know that you work with farmers. You know the answer. This is a man with experience. But we get many responses. Soil pest management, they come up over and over, but this one comes up over and over and over again. And to my surprise, I did not know that. And I see it now repeatedly. And things like, where can I sell my farm products? I grow my crops, where do I sell them? I don't know. A common challenge that we see is people start a project, they start a farm, they grow a crop, and I ask them, where will you sell that coffee? Where will you sell those avocados? Oh, I don't know, I'll figure it out when they come ripe. And the coffee comes ripe, the avocados come ripe, they try to sell it, and the market's bottomed out, or the middleman gives a very, very low price. So these are huge questions. How can I guarantee a good price? How can I add value to my farm products? So we'll talk a lot about this week. Going from just growing raw products to value-added products. So going from raising dairy to raising dairy and producing milk and turning it into yogurt and cheese and artisanal cheese if you want to even go higher. Maybe I grow coffee. Maybe you can process your coffee on site and go from step 1 to 2 and get a much higher price. These are things that come up a lot. And then how do I get my products to market? This is a challenge. I think our friends in Nepal can attest to this one. You live way up in the Himalayas and the mountains, and you're growing your crops. Well, how do I get it down the mountain to the market? How can I start a small agribusiness or enterprise? People want to go from just farming to being businessmen, businesswomen. How can I start an enterprise? So we'll actually have a session on this one this week. So that's by far the most common response. And then there are a few more that come up frequently. So the next one that comes up, probably second most popular, is money and debt. This is related to the first one, but I broke it down further because I think it is distinct. But money and debt comes up over and over and over again. Contract farming. This is a huge issue and a challenge for many farmers. I farm for a large multinational company. They provide the seeds and the fertilizer. I, as the small-scale farmer, I take on all the risk, and I may or may not get a good price at the end of the season. Contract farming leads to debt cycles. That is a big one that comes up. People state this one frequently. Rising costs, we've seen this, rising cost of fertilizers and inputs. This is happening right now with inflation. Record keeping, I think I mentioned that one already. And then capital startup costs is one of the big ones. But I point out record keeping. This one is something that has surprised me. This comes up over and over again. And I often will go to a agricultural project or a small business or some of you have been to different sites and I've noticed that the best farmers or the most effective farmers, one very common theme that they have is that they are good record keepers. So a good farmer, I can say, I see you have 6 pigs, and they can tell you, they can say, those pigs are 100 days old. I feed them this much. My daily feed costs this much, and at day 106, I will be losing money by feeding them. I need to sell them. I need to get them up to a certain weight. Beyond that, I will be losing money. And they know that. They know that answer because they're good record keepers. All too often, I've been to an agricultural project or farm, and I say, is your pig project profitable? And I say, yeah, of course it is. We sold our pigs for 6,000 baht per pig. And I said, great, that's a good price, I think. How much did the feed costs? And they start adding it, well, yeah, 4,500. Did you vaccinate them? Yes, so that's added cost. The costs quickly add up, and they're not making money just simply by not keeping record. So that one has been a surprising common denominator. So I encourage and ask you if there's anyone in the room that has a really good system in this. It's something worth sharing. We'd love to learn more about it ourselves. Next challenge. This is probably the third most. I'm not going to go through all of them, but this one comes up a lot. Land tenure, land rights. Many places, farmers do not own the land. They cannot own the land. You may be a marginalized people group or ethnic people group, and you may not have rights to own your land. You may have to rent your land from a landlord. The landlord might take advantage of you or exploit you. You might do really well, and the landlord comes in and says, "Oh, I think I'll take this farm back over myself now that it's thriving." And so people are hesitant to invest and to improve. And so, why would I invest in long-term sustainable practices if I don't own my land? You're encouraging me. Echo comes in and says, agroforestry is great. Let's plant trees. They'll yield dividends 20 years from now. Well, why would I do that if I don't own my land and have no security in my land? And this comes up. And we've seen this one. I've seen this personally. And land concessions. This is something across Southeast Asia. Large tracts of land that are being given away and sold to companies and taken from farmers. I won't go into this, but Southeast Asia has quite a challenge in this regard. In mainland Southeast Asia, there is quite a large disparity between the top landowners and the bottom landowners. There's a huge disparity and a huge issue of land concessions, making it even worse. So you can look this up later. I'll move through that. All right, and then lastly, the last one I want to share is this one, the middleman. This comes up frequently. This is something I didn't learn about in graduate school. No one told me about the challenge of the middleman and how that can be very difficult for small-scale farmers. And how do you address that? What do you do about that? I don't know. This is a challenge. And so the middleman is challenging. They might offer below market prices. You might, as a farmer, have very limited bargaining power if you're a single farmer trying to sell a single crop. And you might not have a better option. So I'll just share a quick story. I was working with our friends at Transform Nepal, and we were in Nepal, up in the mountains, and this came up. I was asking these questions, and there was a whole group of farmers we were talking with, men and women, and this one came up as the number one challenge. And I said, "Can you tell me more about this?" And they said, "Yeah, we all raise goats, and we have lots of goats." And then I said, "Where do you sell your goats?" They said, "Well, the middleman drives up in a truck, semi-regularly, and he'll buy all the goats and take them down to market." And they said, "We get a terrible price. It's a very, very low price, and he's taking advantage of us. This is not a fair deal for us." And I said, "Well," and again in my infinite wisdom, I said, "Well, why don't you maybe come together as a community? Can you pool your resources? Can you come together as a cooperative and maybe get all your goats together and sell them at once so you have some bargaining power? Or maybe could you get your resources together and buy a truck and take them yourselves?" And their answer shocked me. And these are the kind of answers that I hear in doing these surveys. Their answer shocked me. This group told me that they said, we tried that. We said we did that as a community. We brought our village together, and we told the middleman, we said, we're selling all our goats, and here's the price. We fixed it, and if you don't take it, we're going to go elsewhere. We'll take them ourselves to the market. I said, "Oh, that's great. How'd that go?" And they said, "Well, the middleman went back and found the other middlemen in the region, and they came and they burned our barns and they beat us up, and they threatened us. Don't ever try that again." And so these are some of the challenges that farmers face. And I sat there just shocked. And I said, "Well, I didn't know what to say." That goes far beyond my background. And so I don't want to be a downer, or I don't want to be depressing today, but these are some of the challenges. So some of my takeaways so far, I want to move in maybe a more positive light after that story. But I just want to move forward a little. And so what are some of my takeaways? And so far I've been trying to, based on these responses, what can we do? What can Echo do? What can I do? And some of the answers I've been coming across are, we need transformational, holistic approaches. We need to go beyond the technical, and we need social change. We need life change. And if you look at these issues, if you look at all the most common responses I've outlaid today, they are all if you boil it down, I think you could boil it down to they come down to greed of middlemen, greed of companies, and selfishness, power dynamics. These are non-technical issues, and we need real change, and that's not easy. And so Abram referenced our vision and mission. Echo's just kind of updated our vision and mission statements, and it came at a timely time. I was putting together this PowerPoint, thinking through this process. What are my takeaways and what can we do about this? And we had just gone through this process of updating our vision and mission statements. This, I think I get to share for the first time, maybe officially. This is our latest statements, and I share them with you because they bring me personal hope. They bring me hope to these issues because I think I'm proud to say that I work for an organization that thinks through these things. And I want to just walk through some of it. I personally, maybe not everyone in the room comes from a Christian background or would agree with me, but personally, I would say that we need heart change, and that comes through saving grace of Jesus Christ and God. And people that are saved by grace have hope and are generous and peace-loving and sharing of resources. And this is my experience with the church. And so we're an organization that is, we want to see a world that's transformed under God. These aren't challenges that I can fix by myself. These are not agronomy challenges. These are not entomology challenges. These are challenges that require a large group of people. And thankfully, we have it. Thankfully, we have this network and many, many organizations with many, many sets of expertise and many areas of background that are addressing many of these issues. And I don't have to be an expert in them. I can touch base with you. I can partner with you. And so to me, that's a great thing. And so that's, if you go back, we in our vision and mission statement, our mission statement says that we strengthen the capacity of a diverse global network to defeat hunger and improve lives through the sustainable food and agro-ecosystem strategies. And I love this about Echo. This is why I love working at Echo. It's a network of people. It's not an organization trying to go solving every challenge that pops up. We could never do that. So I have hope through this network of you. And I look forward to hearing your responses to some of these challenges through our workshops and through our sessions that we do. And it gets me excited, honestly. Reducing hunger is good, but abundance is better. This is something I've been thinking about over the last few years. We talk a lot about food security. We talk a lot about defeating hunger. And that's a noble cause. That's a good cause. But I want more than that. I want abundance. I want people to thrive. And so if you look at our updated statements, it addresses that. It used to say to defeat hunger. It now says to defeat hunger and improve lives. This came up in our brainstorming session. We want abundance. The Bible is full of examples of abundance, of people that thrive and do well. Not the prosperity gospel, but we thrive under God's direction. And then lastly, I want to show you this. So my friend Jason Martin's here. He works with Samaritan's Purse. He works in disaster and relief development. And so I want to just highlight something real quick that I saw recently on this note of abundance. So this is normal life. You're moving along. Disaster strikes. Jason interacts with this all the time. Hurricanes, cyclones, earthquakes. We see this in the news. And you may have seen this curve before. But what happens when disaster strikes? People are in need. We dive into relief. We do relief work. We provide for people's immediate needs. We provide water, clean water, food, and it's immediate. And we try to stop the downward spiral after a disaster. And then we move into a section of aid. So after relief, after we've stopped the spiral, we move into aid, and we try to build back up people's communities, build homes, build shelters. And I don't know if you've seen this, but I love this curve because then the ultimate goal is not to get back to normal life. We don't want people to get back to normal. What we really want is improvement. We want their communities to be better in all regards. And so that's how I feel about this work that we're doing and meeting these challenges. And I don't want to just aim for normal. And we see this in agriculture systems too. And so I've reworked the curve, but in agriculture, we have kind of traditional systems, and then we have kind of conventional agriculture that is degrading and destroying soils, destroying our climate, our environment. I think people in this room, we've worked very, very hard to stop that. And so what do? We've been promoting sustainable agriculture. Let's have systems that are sustaining and not taking away, that are not destructive. And again, I don't want to aim for that. And so a topic that's been coming up over and over in the last few years is this idea of regenerative agriculture, where we can actually use agriculture to go beyond. We can actually build soils beyond what they were. We can actually improve them beyond the organic matter that they had. Yeah, maybe they had 2% organic matter, but with cover crops and mulch and other things, we can take it to 5% and thrive. And so that kind of leading into this theme of this conference this week. And so I'm just gonna go through that. And then lastly, agricultural development is not simply a technical challenge. I've already said this. And so that's really where we're moving into this theme this week, from surviving to thriving. And so we, as a team, we came up with this theme, and after talking with our network, and I'm not the only one that does this, our whole team does this. Our whole team asks and interacts with and talks to our network to see what are the needs. Because we want to put on a conference and promote practices that are meeting the needs of you all. And so that this theme itself, this conference, is a direct response to us asking our network. So I hope that it will meet the needs of this week, of this conference. But this week, we're going to be growing on our typical topics, our soil degradation, pest management, and all these things. But we're going to be going beyond that this week. We're going to dive into some topics that we don't normally focus on at an eco agriculture conference. So you're going to see sessions this week related to integrating financial management and entrepreneurship. The next plenary speaker before lunch is going to dive into this. We're looking at sustainable goods for profit, how to run small businesses. We're going to dive into value addition of crops. We're going to look at developing small agribusiness enterprises. And these are speakers that have experience in these areas much more than us, and that's why we've invited them to speak on these topics. And these are right out of the agenda on Whova. Do you need organic certification? Spencer's going to talk about this from Go Organics, worked in this topic. This comes up over and over again. Is it worth it? Global carbon credits. Evelyn from Warm Heart, Biochar Life, they work with carbon credits, helping small-scale farmers get paid for the carbon that they sequester in the soil. That'll be tomorrow. Measuring what matters. Our friends from GH&I Global Hope Network are going to talk about their efforts with monitoring and evaluation. How do we know if we're meeting the needs? They've taken a deep dive into this, and this relates to what I've talked about. And you need to know the challenges, but you also need to know if your solutions are impacting them. So M&E is huge. And then, of course, we will have the technical topics. We can't have an eco conference without talking about fish and soils and biochar and pest management and water security. So we have a lot of good sessions on both topics. So you'll note on your agenda that we will, each afternoon, you can stay here for workshops, or you can go to the farm. So we will have hands-on and classroom sessions at both locations. We've instructed you to please only go to the farm one afternoon. We don't have space to take everyone every day. So please pick one afternoon to go to the farm. But I say that, and I assure you that there are practical sessions, a mixture here at the hotel as well. It's not like you're losing out by staying here. We're going to have a lot of amazing workshops right here after lunch and each day. And so I just want to just quickly end by just saying that we have a network full of people that are already doing this stuff, that are already engaging in these topics. And so that's why this diverse network is so rich. We have experts on these topics in the room, and we have people that are doing phenomenal job. Melanie and her team with Behind the Leaf Coffee, they work with value addition of their crops. We have Mary Kay from Pure Thai Naturals. She's working with local farmers to produce beauty products that can be sold in Europe from local products like vetiver and turmeric and citronella. We have Ton Cedar helps develop it's helped develop small business leaders, taking farm ideas to small business. So we have a lot of this already happening. So I think you're in for a good week to learn a lot. So that's all I'll share today. It's just a very quick overview of this topic, but I really wanted to just launch our theme, launch our conference, and to kind of give you the impetus for that theme and why you're seeing so many topics related to marketing and money. There's a good reason for it. Thank you very much.